Welcome to Behind the Citgo, where we pull back the curtain on the unseen truth of addiction recovery and talk about things most people never get a chance to see. I'm your host, Josh Torbich. Each week, we're sitting down with people who lived it, led it, and are still learning from it today. This isn't polished, it's real, it's raw, and it's noted in the faith and hope because we do recover. So whether you're in recovery, walking alongside someone who is, or just trying to understand what healing really looks like, you came to the right place. Let's dig in. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Another episode Behind the Citgo. Really glad that you're here today. We have someone really special. She came from the jail.
Sure did.
Yeah. See, I was going to lean into that. Yep. We busted her out of jail today. Come sit with the. No, you're on the other side of jail, right? You do work in the jails. Emma Long today here with the Arrow program inside of our jails. First of all, tell the folks about the Arrow program.
Yes. So Arrow is our addiction response and rediscovering one's worth program.
Okay, say it again.
Yep. Addiction response and rediscovering one's worth.
That's good. All right.
It's a program that has quite a few things moving within it in the detention center. So we do moral recognition therapy, which is I think we're going to really get into, a road to recovery group, and then we do transition and reentry planning to make sure that people are stable as they're leaving our detention center too. So it's
Big problem in many communities today is, and actually we've talked to many people on the program here on the podcast about when they left jail, kind of standing out on the street corner, dressed in their whites, carrying a bag, and not knowing what to do with their hands. Kind of like that scene from Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's a problem though.
It is.
Yeah, so that's a major
It's a very
problem.
stuck feeling for people.
You don't know what to do, and then especially for folks who are in there for a longer stay, you know, even up just beneath 2 years, I think is when they can stay inside the jail system. Is that right?
Yeah, if
So-
they're in SMCP, so that state misdemeanor confinement, they can stay in there about 2.5, almost 3
Okay.
years sometimes.
It's a new world
Mhm.
you're coming out to, and so many communities don't have a resource that specifically focuses on that navigation for reentry care. And here at Christian Recovery Centers, we have that reentry program coming on the back end of our treatment recovery process because it's so important. Some would say the most important.
It is, because life is so different. Like you said, what they stepped out of and are stepping into are two completely different worlds. And hopefully they're two completely different people by that point
Yeah,
too.
hopefully. And as you go through that kind of reform process, Arrow plays a pivotal role in making sure that the final stages of that reform period stick with them.
Yeah.
Don't forget about what got you here. More importantly, don't forget about why you don't want to come back.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that jumping off point.
The jumping off point. And when we talk about this thing, and it's funny because when we got the original role of you, your bio, you know, the link that we sent you for, one statement popped out to me. And it was like, oh, I can talk about moral recognition therapy all day. And then you said this, the Kool-Aid has been drunk.
And it has.
So you know,
I'm locked into MRT.
so you know what we named it today. MRT, moral recognition therapy, the Kool-Aid has been drunk. Before I talk to you about that, I do have to make a first. So I'm going to drop a marker. We're going to talk about a first experience. We've never had a pregnant lady. Yes?
Yes.
You are due very soon.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. All right. I did go home from our collective impact session. Okay?
Yeah.
I talked to my wife, Casey, about you. All right. And do you know what I said?
Can't even.
I said, Emma was about to bust.
Yeah.
She is, like, you're in the final stages of pregnancy.
Last days.
You are a hard worker. I watched you. You were reporting out for your table. I mean, you were doing it. Like, and that's hard work. Yeah. Casey's pregnant. She's 6 months pregnant right now. And I watch her do some random stuff around the house and she'll get to breathing heavy.
Oh, yeah.
But she's like tough. She's a Marine, every bit of 126 pounds big. She's still out there doing push-ups. But I'm like, man, this pregnancy thing is
Superhero.
attack. She's a superhero. Yeah. So I was really impressed by that. You're such a hard worker. So yeah, moral recognition therapy, that is the main core curriculum. High level for the folks before we get started in the more in-depth dialogue. a few words about moral recognition therapy. What is it?
So moral recognition therapy, it falls under that cognitive behavioral therapy. So we're looking at how we can change our thoughts in order to change our behavior, in order to change our life. It becomes the whole person has to be different. The moral part behind it, and I guess the recognition part. So conation comes from our conscious decision making. And a lot of people, when we get stuck in that cycle of addiction or criminal thinking, is that conscious part kind of flows out the window and we're just rolling in habits, doing what feels good in that moment. And so we're bringing back that conscious decision making from a moral standpoint. What's right? And let me do what's right because it's right, not because someone's watching me, not because I might end up back in jail, but because it's the good and it's the right thing to do. And as a human being, that's who I'm supposed to be. It's good. And that's what it really elicits out of people is, who are you actually? What are the masks that we've been putting on? How can we take those off and be that good person every moment of every day?
Yeah, one of the things I enjoy about MRT and what I know about it is it kind of asks you who's the person that you feel most comfortable from yourself looking at.
Yes.
What does that guy or that girl look like whenever I say, yep, I'm proud of that person. If you're almost saying, like, if we could train folks to live in that state whenever they're wrestling with decisions that are pivotal for their journey, then they would always kind of come out on top with
Yes.
making a decision that aligns with who they want to be,
Yeah.
not necessarily who they are.
Yes. It's a big part of like self-awareness and then I think self-esteem. So it builds on, if you're doing esteemable things, you're going to have esteem inside. And then other people are going to look at you in an esteemable way too. And it just continues to build. And so it feels good to be good.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great comment. The sense of agency piece, and as you dabble into this sense of agency, talk about how folks might enter into the jail system. They're first engaged with you. They go through some sort of qualification process. How do you select the program participants for Arrow?
So Arrow has a couple of different qualifiers and then disqualifiers. So we need people to be in the program for at least 90 days. It can take about
So
12
we're only there
weeks.
for 30 days, no go.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the program for you, unfortunately.
Okay.
And so 90 days, you have to have some sort of opiate use history because of our funding source, that opioid settlement funds. But the majority of people are not just using opiates. We're using a lot of different things or have maybe started there and evolved into something else or started with something else and evolved into opiates. And then it is voluntary. People have to want to do it themselves.
That's important.
It is. And you can tell the difference in treatment when it's mandated versus I'm at a low and I want to do something different.
Absolutely. It's okay that they feel a little bit wrestled into it because of their situation, but they definitely have to want to be sitting in the
Yes.
seat going through it.
Yeah.
It's
4 days a week. Like it is,
Yeah,
it's a
wow.
commitment.
So that's
too.
intense. How many hours per day?
So for MRT, it's an hour and a half twice a week. And then that addiction education group, the Road to Recovery, is an hour twice a week as well.
Wow, that's a commitment.
It is.
Yeah.
And then there's homework.
And then there's homework,
Yeah.
and you
So
get the great homework.
And then they're spending time on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as you go through that selection process, and you'll have how many folks in your class at a time?
I can have up to 8 in each group. And so we have a men's group and a women's group. And then as people graduate, they'll stay in like an aftercare type thing. And we can kind of have an unlimited amount of people sitting in that as long as we have the time before they get released or before they get sentenced.
So when someone comes into the Arrow program and they're starting this process intensive around moral recognition therapy, what are some of the falsities in their sense of morality that they think they experience on the front end that you find most interesting to start to work with?
Really, it's a 12-step process. It's
Okay.
not the 12 steps of a
But it's a 12-step process.
but it's a 12-step
Okay.
process, and it has this sense of you're stuck in a personality stage, and then you have to embody the essence of each step in order to move into the next one. And so the first personality stage is disloyalty. It's being dishonest with yourself and with the other people around you and with the world in general. And then trust, so being distrustful in other people and mistrustful of yourself. And so I think that first step really gets people because at first they don't want to admit that they have been disloyal. It's a tough thing for someone that's been lying to say, "I've been lying," and to be honest right off the bat
Yeah.
in a group of people that they don't know. And so it starts with a testimony, and it's really powerful to see the way that people will start to crack in that moment and just be vulnerable because I already signed up for it. I already got the book. I already did the intake. I'm sitting here in front of 8 other guys. I might as well just open up and
Say it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the feedback that they get back is probably the coolest part. Man, I've been there too.
Yeah. Okay.
I had to do this 2 weeks ago, and it was really tough too.
What you're saying though, there's time in there for the peer-to-peer
Oh, yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the biggest, coolest thing about group is the peers.
Yeah.
I'll toot toot beep beep as a facilitator all day long, but the group is what it's really about.
Yeah, that's really cool. And through that process, I think about how easy it is to lie to yourself, especially when you're at your lowest of low. You're not feeling particularly proud of where you are, and that you say jail, rehab, same coin, right? Whether you're checking into a rehab program or you're checking into jail for the umpteenth time, you're not at a high note in your life. And it almost helps you sleep easier at night to disregard the person who got you there.
Yeah.
Say, well, even though I might have made a few errors in judgment, it was still because of this or because of these people or because of this opportunity. Or if my boss would have been more fair, I wouldn't have stolen from him.
Mhm.
There's just like a whole slew of things that try to soften that sense inside of us. It's amazing. What I want to say is like MRT kind of comes out with guns blazing.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, it's like accept the person
Yeah.
who got you here, kind of.
And that's my favorite step. Is step 3 is acceptance because there is a lot of that justification. It's the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office that put me here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Well,
No.
yeah. Yeah, like a lot of them probably do, and similar to this, a lot of them probably do have some sense of animosity towards the judicial system, the
Absolutely.
judge who put them there or something like that. So when they jump in there and you start the conversation with them of like, let's talk about the disloyal version of yourself, and then when you finally get them to a place where they're accepting it, do you see some folks kind of lean back away from the program at that stage?
I would step 3 is typically that make it or break it kind of moment, and I try very hard to let people know, like, that's my favorite step is step 3 because when you go through the training, you have to work the program yourself, and, it literally says how to escape your prison. I've never been to prison, never been to jail, so I just thought, "This would be cool."
Yeah.
But it's the human experience. We all put masks on, we all learn to manipulate and seek pleasure, and so step 3 really humbles you
Yeah.
hard. And so I think when people realize like, "Oh, okay, the other people around me have also gone through that humbling," it can kind of pause them, but some people aren't ready for it in
Yeah.
that moment. And so I think a big part of what we do in therapy is the planting of the seeds. And so even when people do come start to step back, we get curious and go, "Okay, well, let's pull it back in.
That's
Let's
good.
try."
That's a good value
Yeah.
for any facilitator when you start seeing people kind of try to lean back from it. You go, well, tell me about what, like, I saw even when you test an inference, when someone gets a big eyed look on their face when you read something, and you're like, oh, wait, I just saw a look. And you talk
Mhm.
to me about that. I can tell you putting people on the spot, don't you, in there?
Yeah, it's good
Yeah.
because it gets them thinking.
You've never seen a group of inmates look so uncomfortable in your life than when Emma's at the front of the room facilitating one of these groups. So in that process, though, it makes me think about all the folks who come in and there's this different persona of themselves. And a joke that I've made with people often is that I don't know if I started being able to actually share the real version of my testimony until I had been sober for years. And people say, "What do you mean about that?" Well, it's not necessarily that you're lying in the very beginning of early stages, but you're not particularly proud of who you were and you're not far enough away from it yet. So that, there's comment and that's how I got sober was through Alcoholics Anonymous. But in AA, when I was working with my first sponsor, it's like you got to get to that place where you no longer wish to shut the door on the past. And to me, I was really fuzzy because I was like, I can't, like, I think of that person that I was, and it makes me go, like, cringe
Yeah.
moments. But then there's this thing that you get to see the more you believe that you're changing, the easier it is to share who you used to be. And so that's what I mean. Watching folks who travel through, you get to see the first version of who they say they are.
Yeah.
isn't really who they are.
No, not at all. No, it's the peek through the window, I think.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so talk a little bit more about that. Like when you're first watching them travel through this process in MRT, how do you take the peak and then encourage it? Kind of like timid deers. That's what I was. I was like a little timid deer. You test the waters. You talked about the peer dynamic. That helps, but how do you lead them into that?
Really, I think it's building trust. So when people share those ugly parts, you lean into those moments without judgment.
Mm.
Because I think as human beings, it can be very easy to get into a judgy state and say, "Oh, I would have never done that," or "I wouldn't have done it that way,"
Yep.
or "I've never been that down." But the thing is we all have things that we regret and have been shameful of, and I think a lot of us try to cut that off, like you said, and just be like, "Well, I'm not gonna think about that." But shame sometimes is a really important feeling to have. If I'm shameful of this thing, I'm probably not gonna do it again.
That's great.
And if I can sit in that emotion. And so I just remind people of that too. Like it's a good thing if you're feeling like I'm not proud that I did this thing, because maybe we won't do it again. And this is the beginning of it. But know that everyone in this world has probably felt that way too. And so keep an open mind, be curious with yourself. Let me be curious with you. Let's build some trust together and then figure out what it is we want to do moving forward.
So with their mindset, or let's just say their mindset, their encouragement to change their behaviors. As you're watching folks travel through the programs, what are some observations around change and transformation that you start to see through that process?
Really? So the jail is an interesting place to be.
You don't say.
Because it's not natural, right? We're not meant to sit inside brick
Yeah.
walls with 55 other
Yeah.
people who are of the exact same gender of you all of the time.
Yeah.
And not have so much choice and free will. And so
Or even responsibilities.
yeah, also
That's a
very true. No
yeah, that's a
responsibility.
troubling thing is like,
Yes.
the worst thing probably is like the sleeping all day thing.
Mhm.
That'll make you miserable.
It
That's
will.
that's kind of like hell on earth
Yeah.
when you think
It
about it.
drives you into it. It is a depressing state that drives you into a
Yeah.
depressing state for sure.
Yeah.
And so to see people make the best out of a situation like that, that can make someone extremely depressed or extremely irritable, and to see them find peace in moments like that, and like you said, kind of create responsibilities for themselves in a place where they don't really have. So I'm still going to get up in the morning and I'm going to read. I'm going to spend time on a Dovo and I'm going to do these classes. I'm going to not just sit in MRT, but I'm going to participate in it. And I'm going to do my homework with an intention behind it, not drag it out 6 months because I'm going to be here for 6 months, but get it done because I want to see who I can be by the end of this. So it's kind of that, I think seeing the light and the passion click on for people in a place where we really don't see that very often.
Where does that come from?
Honestly, my belief is it comes from an inner self that's connected to everyone else around us. I think there's something behind the 12 steps of AA and NA that's also in our 12 steps, is that you have to be helping other people. But you also have to have a self-awareness as well. So it's not people pleasing, but it's helping because it's what we're meant to do, and it's because as human beings we're meant to be around other human beings. And so seeing them again with that group aspect build that community, but also build the self-esteem within themselves too.
And they start to kind of wrestle out the idea of what their current mission might look like. There's a lot of folks who get stuck traveling even through the recovery programs that they feel like their mission is after they leave, or their
Yes.
mission is down the road, or they're after I've been sober for a year, then I can start doing this and that'll be my mission.
Mhm.
And that might be true that you might have a different version that you're aspiring to be, but everyone has a mission today.
Yeah.
The folks sitting in the jail, you have a mission and a purpose today.
Mhm.
The folks sitting here in the recovery program, purpose and mission today. That's kind of aspirational, is what you're talking about,
Yes.
that they start to find that.
Yeah. And that's what, so our step 7, 8, and 9 are about building short and long-term goals. And they have to be, uh, myself and my other facilitators, Skylar, are really good about, like, if it's a 1-year goal and you know that you're going to be in jail or prison for 1 year, it's goals in here. We're not waiting until you get released
Yeah,
to
life
start making
doesn't
goals.
start after
It
you
does.
leave.
It's
Yeah.
happening right now.
You see that often though, right?
Yes.
That they kind of feel like life is on pause.
Mhm.
And that might be the thing that kind of leads into the more lackadaisical approach to their day-to-day environment. Well, I shouldn't invest much energy to what I'm doing today because at the end of the day, it's not really me working towards my goals. So you have to reframe that for them.
100%, because it is you take you with you everywhere you go.
Uh-oh.
So if I haven't worked on myself today, who I am tomorrow is not better. And I can get better every single day, no matter the environment that I'm in.
Yeah, well, and watching the folks who truly kind of embrace that identity of like, I'm going to propel myself into this environment to improve regardless of the progress, those are the ones who get the full effect from
Yes.
it. Yeah, so when you're thinking about this dynamic for the folks who are inside of the jail, means the world to some of them. It's truly in the lane of reform. You know, for folks to leave a different version than what they came, which, to be honest, that's our prayer for everyone who engages with the judicial system.
Yes.
It is a punitive process, but it's also a behavior change process. Like we want you, hey, society has standards, expectations, laws. Man, that stings, right? But at the end of the day, it's in your best interest to fall in line with what those societal expectations are. But it's not just about the individuals because the community, and we've seen this ourselves from the folks who are engaging with the program through Arrow and leaving the jails, the community really is the one who gets the benefit from that.
100%.
Talk to us about that. Why does the community need this program?
Well, because realistically, addiction is not a disease of one person. It affects every single person and system around someone who's struggling. And so, in helping people be the best version of themselves, you help their families grow, you help their neighbors grow, the community as a whole grow. To your point, the judicial system grows. When one person gets better, it's like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. If one person gets better, then typically it spreads like that. And so everything gets safer, stronger. If you're stuck, it's all the cliches, right? If you sit in a barbershop for long enough, you're going to get your hair cut. And so if I sit around good people for long enough, I'm going to start to be that good person.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's just that ripple effect of what we do in one environment spreads into all of these others.
Moral recognition therapy focuses on the person that they are, which automatically translates into the son or daughter that they'll be, the mother or father that they'll be, the employee that they'll be, the community member that they'll be, the person in line at McDonald's.
Truly.
What I mean? Like it truly just gets to the crux of the matter of who they are as a person. So it translates into people who are going to enter the community as a major contributor.
Yes.
Does the program spend time on when you leave the same way you've been helping each other inside of your group? That has to translate to the much larger and broader community.
It does. So a big part of leaving is leaving with that best version of yourself. And so again, one of the big things that we do in here is for 2 of their steps, it's helping others. You generally just have to help others without expecting anything in return. And it's that without expecting anything in return, that is the most important part. And I use the example of like, how sometimes you'll hold the door for someone and they won't say thank you and you'll go, "Ah, screw you then."
Yeah.
That's still expecting something,
Yeah.
the thank you or the recognition. And so really hammering in the humbleness that it takes and the way that it builds you as a person to go out and to keep contributing.
Just do good.
Yes, do good. And your body tells you when to. We get that sense of like it's an instinct. And so leaning into that instinct and out of the fleshy habits that we can have sometimes.
Some of the major compliments from Arrow back to the judicial system is right in line with recidivism. People who leave with solid plans are highly less likely
Yeah.
to enter back into the system, sometimes a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long down the road. Talk to us about that reentry planning and how that introduces a layer of complexity in itself.
Absolutely. So the first thing is just to brag on it one more time. MRT is like one of the only evidence-based practices that reduces recidivism.
Wow.
They have fantastic programs in prison that help people grow, like GED, like AA, like NA, employability. In long-term studies, none of those are actually reducing the recidivism,
Wow.
but MRT is.
Wow.
And so that personality change is a big part of it. But then to your point, when people sit in jail or sit in prison for a very long time, they all the rehabilitation can be there, but there's still these challenges because of stigma or because of systems that are set up. So it's tough to get housing. It's tough to get food. It's tough to get clothes. And so a big part of what we do is that reentry planning. Where are we going? Who are we spending our time with? How are we spending our time? Are there jobs in this county or the county next door where we can plug you into that are felon friendly? Are there resources that we can tap into? Like we get into transitional housing or recovery programs when people need them. Partner with the Anchor program to get people in places. Have very strong connects with like Link, Reset in Wilmington, and the NC Fit program is kind of new down there too. They're working with some Brunswick County people.
Talk to us about that. I've never heard of NC Fit.
So NC Fit is for people who are formerly incarcerated, and I called one of their case managers the other day. They're all community health workers who have been in the system too.
Wow.
And have come out and have this long-term recovery. It's kind of not quite a peer support specialist, not quite a case manager, somewhere in between the two. And so they have this very unique experience. And when we called him, he was like, "Oh, do you need a phone? Do you need bus passes? Do you need a place to live? Do you need food? We'll take you to the grocery store. We'll buy you clothes." And so it's like everything you could possibly think of someone needing. And just when they step out and they're not just in their whites, they're in a new pair of sweats, they're in a new outfit, they have a phone, they know where they're going. They've already been connected to spiritual resources, community engagement like NA and AA. They feel like I've got a community the day that I'm stepping out of the door.
That's really
and that's huge.
Yeah, and recovery and even reentry are things that bring people together. Like they know the struggles, and you can always find folks who are wrestling uphill. One of the things I love about Christian recovery centers is we're like the second chance school.
Yeah.
So like once we've started actually being able to hire more and more people, we do find ourselves like, yeah, we're gonna do a background check, but we really don't look at it.
This is just for
HR puts it on file. Yeah. So the entire group, actually, it's funny because we have folks who are convicted felons on our senior leadership team who have their own recovery journey and experience. I couldn't imagine if we didn't have them.
Yeah.
They're such good contributors and sharp and hard workers, and they've built things around here that have led to us growing like that.
Well, there's something too, we grow such great qualities in active addiction sometimes that we just have to turn and use in a different way.
Yeah.
But resiliency is huge. Hustling, which I will turn into work ethic.
Yeah, hustling becomes work ethic.
amazing.
If you're a hustler, you got work ethic.
Yes,
Yeah.
and just the creativity and the resourcefulness.
That's true.
It's they're
Resourcefulness is a kind way to say
It is.
Yeah. But for those folks who don't know, when you're in addiction, every day you got to wake up and figure it out.
Yes, you do, and you got to figure it out quick.
You got to figure it out quick. You don't feel good. You got to push through. Yeah, but you're right. Those things translate back into some really interesting skills, some great qualities that most employers don't even know they're looking for. You find that in a lot of folks who are traveling through programs and systems like the judicial system. So when you step into that, though, what are some of the major barriers whenever you're leading someone into that reentry pathway? You touched on one of them, the community aspect. If they don't find their people quickly, they're probably not going to be highly successful.
Yes.
What's some other things that you wrestle with folks?
Housing is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
And that I think you and I have run into that in almost every dialogue that we have about Brunswick County resources for recovery and mental health is the lack of stable and affordable housing for people. If they're not interested or not appropriate for inpatient and don't necessarily want to go into transitional or recovery housing with a couple of other people, we really struggle.
If they're looking for an independent landing place and they feel like they're ready for it, it's also difficult to tell someone, well, I'm sorry, here's the only option that we have. Feels like they're settling for something that they weren't necessarily headed towards aspiring to be. But yeah, so one of the things that folks don't really understand as far as the median household incomes goes, a lot of people are priced out or even zoned out of being able to enter into rental apartment complexes that are more reasonably priced. So when you're navigating that challenge for folks, what are some of the cards that you have to pull to help them?
Realistically, I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah,
It is
it's
truly one
complex.
of the hardest things that we've gotten into. And so it's been a lot of conversations about having stepping stones for people. So let's get you somewhere that's stable And as you're there, let's work towards what the actual goal is.
Yeah, what would be the dream? Like, because you're so ingrained in like this component of how difficult it is to find reentry housing that's independent, the perfect next step for somebody who's trying to be a contributor of society to get them on that launch pad for their next step, what would be the answer?
I don't I don't know, I mean, if money was never an issue and I could make the world my own.
Now you sound like Jeremy.
I know.
He's like, "What do you mean money's not an issue? What's the
It's
budget?" I'm like, "Jeremy, no budget. We're just dreaming."
dreams. It would be at utilizing the apartment complexes that we have. I mean, we have so much housing
Mhm.
in Brunswick County. And realistically, I think to build that community too, it reduces stigma if we're living next to people with lived experience. It creates community that's broader. And so plugging people into places that already exist, I think would be the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. See, I think that's clever. One of the conversations, I'm on the state's Unshame campaign, and one of the things that we talk about is how many people are in recovery themselves and they're living next door and their neighbor doesn't even know that.
Mm.
They're the best neighbor, right? You know, all my neighbors know that I'm in recovery. I got a billboard with my bus mug on it, so they all know that I'm sober, very sober. But at the end of the day, reducing stigma is a key component to changing the way our communities view themselves as who they let into it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of folks will say, we need to make this a safe place. People who are addicted to drugs commit crimes, which immediately equates to less safe in our community. But then, because that's what's posted online all the time, they oftentimes don't see the positive effects of the folks who are carrying major weight for the community, who at one time were judicially involved, a substance abuser, opioid addicted, whatever it is. So, one of the things that we do on the Unchained campaign is make sure that those stories overpower the negative side of what everybody kind of views. How important is that?
It's huge because that's the truth, right? Again, every person has like a lowest point, but it's not typically what we lead with. And so if my lowest point hasn't been blasted on Facebook or on a page that
Yeah.
everybody can see, then it's very easy to keep to myself. And the judicially involved individuals, they don't have that because it's public record. And so I think putting the goodness that can come out of moments like that is so important because it's what we typically do too, is I put my goodness front.
Yeah. Yeah, you want everyone to see the best version of yourself. Sometimes, in order to leave the effect for the community of the knowledge aspect, you got to lead with who you used to be,
Mhm.
and that's difficult to do,
It is.
especially in front of new people. You have to kind of be for this a Swiss Army knife a little bit because the answer for Johnny, inmate number 202, is not going to be the same answer for Sarah, inmate number 407.
Not at all.
Not even close
Mhm.
sometimes. So you are kind of like in your bag of tricks and toolbox. You're trying to like pull out your duct tape and tape together sometimes these reentry plans because of how driven it has to be from what their own aspirations look like and what their
Absolutely.
own interests look like. Do you think that's the most complicated thing of what you do?
I really do because I think just as recovery is complicated, and we talk about like toolboxes, and your toolbox is very different than my toolbox.
Mhm.
The reentry is the same way. The way you're describing it is what someone already has and what someone needs is going to be very different on a case by case basis. And then for me, it was the one thing that I wasn't doing before Arrow and just doing clinical therapy. You're not doing that case management. And so I found in the very beginning and still today, I don't know the resources. And so I also constantly feel like I'm digging into what is available, who is willing to help, and what can they do, what can they bring to the table, and how can we work together and collaborate to help this person.
It's important, like, one thing that I know and I share this with you, everyone thinks, because you work or are heavily involved in addiction recovery field, that you're kinda like Yoda
Mhm.
when it comes to resources and answers, but I still get stuck for a pause sometimes with folks, so community call me, they're looking for a specific resource, I'm like, "Man, I don't know, let me find out," because there's this one thing.
Very niche.
Yeah, that makes it really unique, and, I think one of the things that I struggle with is how complex it is to get to the grit of what a program offers or what a program allows or what it feels like its lane is whenever it comes to service. Christian recovery centers might be a little bit guilty of this too, but we're trying to present ourselves in a way that looks really complex because what we do is complicated.
Oh, yeah.
And it has so many layers. But sometimes that's not in the best interest of the community. The more complicated we look to people, the more intimidating we look.
Okay.
There's value sometimes to us doing the dumbed down version of saying, hey, if you're struggling with XYZ, call us and we can help you in XYZ. You know, just like a few points.
Yeah, the very black and white.
The very black and white version. Do you ever think about how much easier it would be for us as folks who do have to plug people into resources if we had the simplest form of what they did, who they did, and then the key qualifiers?
Oh, 100%. And I think that came up last week.
It
They
did.
did the collective
Yeah.
community impact. And then I did the Opioid Settlement Academy with a couple of people from the county this
Yeah.
year too. And it's the same first step that we came to. And so it seems like in Brunswick County, we need that. It's a referral network that is very clear and concise about this is what this group does. Call them if you need this.
Yeah.
And that way you can kind of just scroll through and be like, okay, housing. I got to call Karen.
That's it. Yeah. Just housing. Yeah. But so like we offer housing on our reentry side of program, but the largest majority of them are folks who've already traveled treatment recovery process. So you would say, oh, Christian Recovery Centers has a reentry program, but we're not really that form of reentry like the Oxford House is. That's like one example of like, that's confusing to people. If I get confused and you get confused, the average guy down the street doesn't have a chance.
Yes. And then you're stepping into something that you thought was something different.
That's absolutely the truth. Yeah, understanding what to expect when you're stepping through the door is key for folks.
It is.
So we landed on like our dreams and aspirations that week was like a marketing campaign, but more of like a grassroots.
Yeah.
We were talking about this grassroots because someone in the room brought up money again. And I said, you're not supposed to bring up money. This is just us dreaming. But yeah, so the marketing campaign and how you do that, some ways that you think you mitigate that for the folks who are traveling through the judicial system inside of Brunswick County Jail with Arrow program. How do you explain to them what you are, what you're looking to accomplish with them whenever they're deciding if they're going to participate?
Really, I think it's all about having a clear conversation with people so they know exactly what's expected of them while they're in the program and exactly what they can expect of us when they're in the program too. This is what my role is and this is what I can't do. I am not a lawyer and I am not a prescriber.
Oh, yeah.
and I am
Yes.
not a CO. And so there are limits to my role. And I think when people are really clear in that, then you don't get let down. You don't expect too much. And then they know what's expected of them too, so they can fall really easy into like, okay, this is what I have to do. And then this is what I'm going to get out of it.
It's almost like if each one of our programs, I'm thinking about Jeremy with Coastal joining us because I asked him to join everything. And he's like, why'd you get me involved in this? But I'm almost thinking like all of us from the local level as folks involved in Brunswick County Services, like we just all publish these versions, who we are, who we aren't, what we can do, what we can't do.
Yeah.
And if we all even push that out to like a postcard version, and we could all have our little Rolodex.
I do love that. Bring the Rolodex.
That's what I mean. Wouldn't that be like something really cool though for us where I could be like, oh, they do, okay, this is, oh, okay. And then we would be familiar with the different complexities of
I
our
do.
program.
That would be fantastic.
Okay, well, we're going to make a mental note. See, me and you, that's what I mean. Me and you came up with that, but all 60 people couldn't flush out something like that last week. All right, so thoughts here. This is what I'm thinking about. In Brunswick County, Arrow program just is on its way to its second birthday. Is that right? Third birthday.
No, first birthday was November.
Oh,
so, yeah.
So you're on your way to your second birthday.
On the way.
Wow. Okay. So this November, Arrow program will be 2 years old. The Anchor Initiative, which works in tandem often with you, is 5-6 years around. So that's great. we're still missing some things in Brunswick County.
Yeah.
You talked about the reentry housing aspect, but as far as our approach to addiction, mental health, and recovery, other than the housing piece, is there anything else that you feel like Brunswick County needs? What's our needs look like?
I really do. I think it's we need fun. I think we need places to build
Go ahead, just say it.
community and
Call it what it is.
I can't do it. It's
You was
Jeremy's sober bar.
Jeremy's sober bar.
But it really
Go ahead. Yeah, tell us why though.
it's spaces where people can come together,
yes.
but also events where people can come
Yes.
together. I think are going to be the biggest thing because that's what a lot of people that sit in front of me say is I'm bored or I don't have anyone or I don't have anything to do. I'm in Brunswick County, and what you do in Brunswick County is you do drugs behind the Citgo.
Yeah.
And
So shout out Beyond Perfect.
and I think that if we can ensure that people have places to go and people to be around to just because I think recovery sometimes also gets this bad rap of like you have to be serious all the time.
It does.
And you don't. Part of recovery is wanting to be present in your life. And I think that involves loving the things that you're doing, having a ton of fun, going to the beach, listening to music, going to concerts, like all of these things, but in a sober mindset. And so I think Brunswick County could really benefit from having places, spaces, people, and events that people can really just get into and live.
Yeah, I agree. These peer centers, we joke about the sober bar, but these peer centers are really powerful when you look at them in other communities. And they are, I mean, the joke of the sober bar has been like a couple years running, but they truly are when you walk into them, they're all the activities that you would see locally in a community. They're just not surrounded by the social setting drinker.
Yes.
That's all it is. You know, sometimes they overload the caffeine in the building and you make coffee shops, right? Which one of the shout outs you gave when you got here was like, don't you take away my 1 cup of
Please
coffee.
don't.
See?
8 ounces a day.
That's 8 ounces a day I got. But I mean, that's true. Even if you load it up on caffeine and you throw it in there, folks do need a place that they can kind of go, you know what? I can't sit here and chill anymore. I got to go do something. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's on
And I
my
think it
dream
is.
list.
And I think the really helpful part would be that it's full of the community.
Yes.
Like we talked about last week, having people from every single background
Yes.
come in and be a part of it. It's not just people in recovery,
Yep.
but it's people who are in legislation, doctors, lawyers, veterinarians. It's a place to network, I think could be fantastic too, because let me get to know you. Bill Kraft said I could park at his house and go to the beach. Like that's an amazing thing, right?
Thank you so much, Bill Kraft. Crafty Kraft strikes again.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so
that's
building
what you're talking about.
relationships.
Yeah. See, that's so cool. That's a perfect example of what we're going for as far as in Brunswick County. You're sitting at the table with him. You met him for the first time. You figured out that he lives on Oak Island. And you're like, I go to Oak Island a lot. It's horrible to find parking. He's like, not anymore.
Yes.
Why? Because he's like, hey, I got a driveway. Here's the address. Park in my driveway when you want to go to the beach. That's what our folks traveling back into the community, they need that.
Yes.
They need someone to look at them and see the humanity aspect of their rebuilding, their regrowing. I agree. That community aspect of what we're trying to recreate, the families, the communities, and tying that all back together in a real way.
When I think knowing that people genuinely like care about you, that's what it feels like in those moments too, is like this person just met me, but they're so kind, so nice, and they care about me already. Like, okay, that feels fantastic. Let me start caring about the people around me too.
It's contagious.
It is.
It is contagious. You start rubbing elbows with the folks who are truly contributors to the good side of the community. It makes you go like, man, that's why I always say, I always try to be an attractive version for other people in recovery. You know, the joke of the dry drunk.
Yes.
Nobody wants to see, hey, that guy's sober. If that's what sobriety looks like, I don't want nothing to do.
Misery. Misery.
But there's so many folks who truly are living the best version of themselves and they haven't had a drop or they haven't touched a drug or a smoke in years. And it's phenomenal to see that take place and the transformation ignite through programs like yours. That's really rewarding. Do you think that this is a place that you're landing, that you found your purpose?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you said that. We did a value sort in group on Wednesday, and purpose is my number one value. And I find you can only have to your top 5, but I cheat and I put 3 under 1. And so under my under my purpose is service and justice. And I think since I got to college, I've wanted to be in some type of criminal justice setting because I think it's a vulnerable and forgotten population a lot of the time. And so to go back to caring, I do have a lot of care and love that I feel like I can give. And if I can give it to a group of people that don't have it a lot, that feels like that's the right spot to be.
That's really meaningful. I feel similar too. I feel like my niche is being able to engage with folks and show them what the hope looks like.
Yes.
And that's a fun thing to do. Yeah. Well,
And you're good at it. And so that's got to feel good too.
it does feel good. It feels good to know that the effects are happening, to see it actually take lift off. Like personally for me has been the greatest gift of my life to see the ministry grow
Yeah.
and to be able to see it serve people and then continue to work with the broader community. That's important. Nobody likes the Kool-Aid drinkers, the Jesus juice out in the corners that doesn't want to work with anybody. So I try to be really intentional in making sure that we kind of coordinate and figure out what's best and what works for our community as a whole.
Well, because it takes a village.
It does take a village, and you're a part of that. That's what I was about to say. So thanks for being a part of that. This was a good chat.
Thank you.
All right.
I thought so too.
Congratulations on the baby again.
Thank you.
And we'll get to meet. Oh boy. Okay. Remind me of the name again.
Evelyn
Conley. That's it. Evelyn Conley.
Yeah.
Beautiful name. All right, everyone. Today we talked about MRT, moral recognition therapy. The Kool-Aid has now been drunk by 2 people. Emma and Josh have drank the MRT Kool-Aid. She's the director of the Arrow program.
Yes, sir.
And is in there every day working to make sure folks leaving our local judicial system are truly having their eyes towards reform and becoming contributing members of society. Thank you for your work.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you next time.